The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and rotting flowers. You are running, but your feet feel like they are sinking into lead. Behind you, a rhythmic thud echoes through the trees, a heavy, singular bounce that defies the laws of the living. It is the sound of the shroud hitting the ground. You dared to enter the forbidden grove, and now the guardian of the soil has noticed your presence. The Pocong does not scream. It simply exists, a pale monolith of vengeance, wrapped in the very cloth that was meant to grant it eternal rest.
They say the dead stay buried if the ties are loosened, but someone forgot. Or perhaps they remembered all too well. 3 knots, one at the head, one at the neck, and one at the feet. If these are not untied after 40 days, the soul remains trapped within the decaying husk, fermenting in its own bitterness. This spirit was not forgotten by accident. It was bound by a curse, a blood debt that has now reached its expiration date. The soil can no longer hold the weight of its fury, and the white fabric is no longer clean.
You stop to catch your breath, leaning against a gnarled oak. The silence is louder than any noise. Then you see it, standing perfectly still at the edge of the clearing, bathed in the sickly silver light of a dying moon. The Pocong. Its shroud is stained with the mud of 1,000 rainfalls, and its face, or what remains of it, is a hollow mask of gray, parchment-like skin. It doesn't breathe, yet you can feel its cold gaze piercing through your very soul. It is waiting, it is always waiting, for the moment your courage finally snaps.
The villagers warned you about the desecration. They spoke of the developer who bulldozed the old cemetery to make room for progress. They spoke of the restless nights where the sound of hopping was heard on the tin roofs of the workers' shacks. One by one, the men who moved the stones vanished, leaving behind only the faint smell of jasmine and sulfur. You thought it was just a story to scare off trespassers, but as the temperature drops 20 degrees in an instant, you realize that some legends are written in blood and bone.
It moves again, a sudden, jarring hop that covers several meters in a blink. The movement is unnatural, a twitching, vertical leap that mocks the grace of the living. Each time it lands, the ground seems to tremble with the weight of an unforgiven sin. You try to scream, but the air in your lungs has turned to ice. The Pocong is closer now. You can see the dark pits where its eyes used to be, swirling with a darkness that predates the world. It is the physical manifestation of a soul denied its passage to the afterlife. There is no sanctuary in the dark. You reach an abandoned hut, slamming the wooden door shut and sliding the bolt. You sink to the floor, listening to the pounding of your own heart. But then, a soft thud hits the roof. Then another. It is dancing above you, its shrouded form dragging across the thatch. The dust from the ceiling falls like gray snow. It knows you are inside. It knows that walls are merely illusions to those who no longer belong to the physical realm. The revenge of the Pocong is patient, for it has all of eternity to wait.
Why you? You ask the shadows, but deep down you know. You held the shovel. You took the gold coin from the mouth of the corpse, a small, shiny piece of history that belonged to a man who had nothing else. That coin is heavy in your pocket now, burning like a hot coal. The Pocong doesn't want the gold. It wants the respect that was stripped away when you disturbed its peace. It wants the return of the silence you broke. The price of greed is always paid in the currency of fear, and your debt has just come due. The door creaks open, not by force, but as if the wood itself is recoiling from the presence outside. The Pocong stands in the threshold. It doesn't hop this time, it simply glides, a vertical specter of white against the blackness of the night. The smell of the grave fills the room, a cloying, suffocating mixture of wet clay and old spices. You are paralyzed, a moth caught in the gaze of a dead star. It leans forward, the top knot of its shroud swaying like a pendulum, counting down the last seconds of your life. In its presence, time loses all meaning. You see visions of the burial, the weeping family, and the moment the knots were tied with malice instead of love. You feel the weight of the earth pressing down on your chest, the darkness of the coffin becoming your entire world. The Pocong is sharing its agony with you, forcing you to feel the 40 days of isolation, the 40 days of being trapped between worlds. Its revenge is not a quick death, but an eternal understanding of what it means to be forgotten and bound.
You reach into your pocket and throw the coin into the dirt. It rolls away, a tiny spark of light disappearing into the shadows. You whisper a prayer, a plea for forgiveness that you should have uttered long ago. For a moment, the hopping stops. The air grows still. The Pocong tilts its head, as if listening to a voice from a distant shore. Is it enough? Can a single act of contrition undo the damage of a desecrated grave? Or is the hunger for vengeance too deep to be satisfied by a piece of metal?
The sun begins to bleed over the horizon, casting long, jagged shadows across the forest floor. As the first light touches the white shroud, the figure begins to dissolve into a pale mist. The heavy presence lifts, leaving you shivering on the floor of the hut, alone with the echoes of the night. You have survived, but you are not the same. Every time you hear a thud, every time you see a white cloth blowing in the wind, your heart will skip a beat. The Pocong has returned to the earth, but it has left a knot of fear tied firmly around your soul.
Respect the dead, for their memory is long and their patience is thin. If you ever find yourself walking near an old graveyard at night, do not look back. Some things are better left undisturbed, and some knots should never be tied in anger. The forest is quiet now, but the shroud is always waiting for the next person to break the peace. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on the legends that haunt the dark. Sleep well if you can, and remember, never leave the knots tied for too long.